Generally, I rely on Gani for delegation, but Gani today has some urgent issues with some of the air support phones, so I'll do my best to lead. All right. Today is due dates for quite a few items here. So let's go over to the secretary and let's pick them off one at a time. There's a few guidelines I think that are going to be reviewed and delivered today, and let's take a look at them one at a time. Okay. So the first one, this is one of the oldest issues that we have on the board in branding and copywriting. This is let's see, Cindy, if we're able to scroll up a little bit, just let me kind of take a look at the start date when this actually began. This was on almost a month ago, December 6th. Okay, let's drop in and see what we have. Jesslyn and we are going to complete the guideline for voice and tone. Jesslyn, what's the update on that, please?
We tried to edit the guide directly, but it turns out that we are only able to comment on the document. So I made it in a separate document.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I kind of did this one at the same time when I'm doing the guest identity. I think I put in the link somewhere up there.
Okay.
Maybe
Understood.
not. Wait, maybe I'll just share my screen because I have it here.
Fantastic. Okay, Jesslyn. While Jesslyn shares her screen, let me ask a quick question. Since I will plead ignorance right now. Does anybody know who controls the editing of the guidelines? No? Anybody? If you know, just please tell me because I would love to know. Okay, that might be a Gani question then, Jesslyn, for that. Jesslyn, have you Slack Gani or asked him what the controls are for editing privileges for the guidelines?
Not yet, sir.
Not yet. Okay. All right. Uh, just a quick recognition. What Jesslyn did is correct, right? So don't get stuck behind a simple administration issue and not do your work, right? Do your work and then figure out how to integrate it back into the guidelines at this discussion. So that I think is a really good example of failing fast rather than failing slow. So you realize that's not right. So you took another approach, and now we have some brand identity guidelines. Okay, let's take a look. Jesslyn, would you like to walk us through these guidelines for the guest tone?
Yeah, so actually I had two homeworks since last week. One is the brand identity for guest squad, but maybe first we'll head over to the tone of voice.
Okay.
So here there's a simple table, right?
Mm,
So last week, Mas Gani asked me to make the tone of voice because he said that Instagram is probably the channel where our persona and our tone is most visible at. So me and Katwei actually tried to discuss about this. So following the same format in the branding guideline, it's do's and don'ts. So I think regarding our tone of voice, we should be cheerful, we should be friendly, energetic, optimistic, professional but still casual, informative and conversational, genuine and persuasive. And the things that we shouldn't do is talk in a cold tone, be flat and not enthusiastic in general, because we have a pretty bright persona as well, someone who is cheerful and wants to spread delight, right? So
mhm.
we should avoid being these adjectives right here when we're representing our brand, especially in channels like Instagram where our persona shows the most.
Okay.
So
All right.
that's about the tone of voice.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Take us up to the next piece that you have in the guideline, then, Jesslyn, please.
Yes. So this one is about the brand identity. So last
Mhm.
week, we have the three different squads try to identify their own brand identity and whether or not the one that we have in our previous documentation in Dropbox is still relevant to today's situation, right? So specifically for guest squad, we still agreed that the identity we had before is still on point, which is someone who is casual, intimate, as well as involved. And aside from these three characteristics, me and Kak Wei also added a few other characteristics that our brand and guest squad should have, which is someone who is humorous or funny, which
Yep.
shows when we are joking around or yeah, being fun in general, as well as curious. We are not afraid to ask if there's something that is interesting. We shouldn't be hesitant to ask them and try to be more inquisitive as well. And then we we are also informative in a way, because our Instagram account right now is heading more towards an information account. So not just about selling, we also provide guests with necessary information to make the most out of their stay. For example, like regulations or things they should be
Yep.
aware of before they head to Bali, for
Yep.
example.
Yep.
Because now information is very valuable, right?
Yep.
As well as being sensitive, because it's not just about information, but if that information that we spread through our account might give harm to other people or to the condition in general, then be we should have good judgment. Like for example, we are working in a hospitality company, right? But if we keep on giving news about COVID, and generally news about COVID is always negative, it will also impact how our guests would view our
Yep.
company, as well as the situation regarding Bali in general. So we should
Yep.
have good judgment and
Yep.
filter the things that we are going to say to our guests through our account, as well as engaging. This is related to the engagement strategy that we have. So it's not just one way. We don't just give them information. We don't just offer them properties, but it should also incorporate some sort of feedback mechanism, so
Mhm.
we know what the guests think of us, and we should also try to engage with them outside of just trying to sell our properties. So
Excellent.
that's the brand identity for the guest squad.
Okay, fantastic. All right. Thank you very much, Jesselyn, for accomplishing your work. Let's take a look at this as a group. All right. So, one thing that Gani, me, and Nadia spoke about this is Nadia here right now? No. Okay. Spoke about this weekend was actually this idea of a unit design. Okay. So, Jesselyn, I think you have all the great content here. Let's actually give Jesselyn some feedback too, because this also applies to everybody who's actually been asked to bring some guidelines back. How easy is it to, let's say, take a look at these guidelines right now and actually apply them immediately to use? Let's go over to Audrey. Audrey, if you were to, let's say, take a look at this and try to understand and apply this as a host of Bukit Vista to your day to day life, how quickly could you actually take this information and start using it? Or would there be other ways that we could actually, let's say, get that understanding in a stronger or faster way? Let's go over to Audrey for first comments.
Okay, before thank you, Kak Jocelyn, for the guideline. Um, can you scroll down a little bit, Kak? Because I need to read. Like, yeah, I'm sorry. Okay. In my opinion, this is very, very relevant and easy to apply for us as if we are a host or a host community. This will be very, very easy to apply, because this one is like day to day, like daily basis thing that we can apply. And also but still we need to be punctual to like try to improve it day by day, because like in my opinion, if we start it like small and then we make it like as everyday routine, this will be easier, because in my opinion, like not every host or community has the same starting point related to building this kind of personality, I would say.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Okay.
this, so you need to improve it like for day by day, especially maybe the 1 2 3 4 5 point the last 5 point, like from humorous, curious, informative, sensitive, and engaging. Like you really need to you really need someone or like another peer host or maybe peer host community to discuss about like how how much improvement I've made for some phases to be yeah to be done, I guess.
Okay.
I hope.
All right. We've taken Audrey's input, right? Audrey, if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying that we need some sort of feedback cycle, right? To see
Yeah,
how well do actually people take these guidelines, actually apply them, and improve their performance here. Is that correct?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, very good. Audrey, here's one thing we have to recall though. This chapter's work is a little bit different from, let's say, the work that is being done in business intelligence, which is for brand, there's no, let's say, number that will trigger if you're doing the branding correctly. There's no number that will trigger either way, whether you're doing the branding correctly or not, because it's not easy to measure. It's not like the number of inquiries that we've processed or the total number of views that we've gotten. So for brand, it is only probably reliable to do a random inspection, right? So let's say you take a random inspection from a particular uh, guest dialogue, and then you ask, okay, does this random inspection fulfill these particular guidelines? And then give that feedback back to the person who has actually created that dialogue. So that's how we generally, as a mechanism, can actually inspect our work in brand through a random sample. I saw that Cindy had her hand up. Cindy, go ahead. Tell us what's on your mind, Cindy.
Okay. I have two things to talk about this guideline. First,
Mhm.
because people are very broad. So
Yeah.
what humorous from is not, it might not be
Yes.
humorous for you. So I guess putting a sample would be easier for us to know whether this is correct or no. And
Excellent.
for the revision feedback, I think it's better if we put fundamental things there, like what Mr. Jing told me. Like this is the persuasion and negotiation video. So instead of measuring with numbers, we can take back to the fundamentals and see whether this is still um, aligned with the fundamentals or no, or
Oh,
it can
framework.
be
Yeah.
yeah, from the framework.
Okay.
So it's not after we implement and then this is not working, but to make it better, we can take it from the framework. So
Okay.
I think
Interesting.
everyone also need to know the framework. Why do you get the humorous from? Why it's curious from? Where is the information from? So I think it's very vital to
Mhm.
have the framework written before you list the thing that you listed now.
Okay.
And that's all from me.
Excellent points. Okay, so Cindy mentioned 2 points here, everyone. One, she mentioned an example will help cement the understanding, and the second is using framework. So I'll have two things to say. Well, let's start with the framework situation first. A tone is something that is quite challenging to use a framework approach, Cindy, and this is why. Cindy, you come and join some of our persuasion negotiation discussions, right, for the sales chapter. Is that correct? Conversion chapter, right? So
Uh,
question
I
just.
don't think so.
Oh, you haven't? Okay. Have you joined the advocacy chapters discussions?
Yeah, last week.
Okay, of course, right? So things like advocacy or persuasion, the framework is linear, meaning that you have to do step one before you do step two. You have to do step through two before you do step three. So that type of framework is actually pretty effective when the process that you're managing is a linear process. It needs to go one, two, three, or one, two, three, four, five, right? Because basically you can then cut to the chase, like we did just earlier with Audrey. Audrey, let's say, for example, you are issuing invitations to a community sharing session. People aren't coming. So if you use the sales and persuasion framework, people aren't responding. It's probably because they're not trusting you, right? Or you haven't identified them correctly. So that's why they're not engaging. If you get to step three, which is where you discover about what they want and stuff, then you've passed those two layers. In those particular cases, Cindy, a framework is very useful. In this particular thing, this guideline is it's not as a linear framework as what we see with the other two ideas of sales and persuasion or advocacy. This framework, you might not need to have all the elements of this framework in order to still be the correct tone. You might not have all the whatever do's and don'ts in that in order to have the correct tone. So this is very subjective, and it's more of a matter of it's like having a Bahasa Indonesia class versus math class, right? In one class, the results are certainly more subjective, and in the other class, the results are more objective. So, but you bring up a good point, Cindy. Let's go back over to Jesslyn. Jesslyn, there's one thing I think that was actually very different. I noticed between reading this and experiencing you telling this, and that was your tone. Okay. So when you explained it just to us a second ago, you were emphasizing different things with different amounts of color, with energy, with this. So I would actually think, if you just posted a small little explainer video of yourself, even talking about this guideline here, that would actually improve the understanding of somebody who is reading this guideline just through your voice, right? Like, this is how it is, and these are the do's and don'ts, and so on and so forth. It added for me another layer of richness to being able to understand that. And once again, Jesslyn, Cindy is correct. I think let's do this here actually. Let's start two threads here. Cindy, would you be able to go to this website, right? It's gojek.design. I'm going to share the link in the chat group here. Cindy, go ahead and open that link on your side and share the screen. While Cindy is opening that link and sharing her screen, Jocelyn, one of the discoveries that we made is when we took a look at Gojek's branding principles, they had a pretty strong. Okay, all right. So everybody, Cindy was very fast. It's already there. So let's take a look, Cindy, and scroll through some of this. So the message is pretty big, right? So take into account this, Jocelyn. When Gojek designs their guidelines, I think they follow certain guidelines for their guidelines. For example, none of their guidelines is actually more than just a few sentences. So they don't use too much words to explain any particular idea. They usually keep it really, really brief, right? I think Gojek, what they're thinking is, why use 5 words when I can use 1? Why use 10 sentences when I can use 2? So most of their guidelines are super, super compact, as you can see, right? So it's clear, casual, witty, empathetic. Those are their 4 main elements. And immediately they go, Cindy, if we scroll down, they immediately follow up with an example. So they show 2 visual examples of how people are going to be experiencing the Gojek tone through the channel, which is the app that they're most likely to experience it. Okay, so this can be some pointers for you, Jocelyn, I think, in terms of thinking about how to create guidelines, right? What is the maximum length of a guideline? What can you remove away so that people will remember it, right? And can you use a visual example or a GIF or some other type of example to really reinforce and drop that idea down? If Cindy, if you go any further, that goes to the next guideline. So we're just looking at the tone of voice for right now. Okay, Jesslyn, is that helpful for you to understand kind of like how to create the correct unit design for a guideline?
Yes, absolutely. I think when Audrey mentioned it a while ago that a few examples would have helped people understand the guideline even better.
Mhm.
I didn't know why I didn't think of it before, but it makes sense,
Okay.
especially because some people are new to the guideline, and I was only able to make it because I've experienced it for a few months.
There we go.
But yes, I'll try to make it more easier for people to understand by giving examples and following the description for like the one shown in the Gojek site.
Excellent, excellent. Okay. Listen, everybody, remember, we're here to learn from each other. Okay. So the main purpose of this particular group is to start getting more evolved in your own thinking and your own ability to develop better, one, to understand guidelines and brand, but also to guide the guidelines and brand. So take these not just as, let's say, a lesson for Jesslyn. Smart people will learn from other people's designs and other people's mistakes and other people's things. So let's take a look from Jesslyn. Thank you, Jesslyn, for being our example today. And then we can take a look at some other examples today of other people's guideline submissions for understanding. Thank you. I think somebody else put up Asa. Share with us what you have there, Asa, for what you've discovered on the Airbnb content strategy.
Yeah, actually, I was just looking around, like, because we were talking about the voice, tone of voice, right? So I was looking around in the Google and found that Airbnb has got one kind of voice that is straightforward, inclusive, thoughtful, and also spirited. And I think it has got different, designs here with the Gojek one, but we can implement it based on our guideline as well with some modifications, just like what Jocelyn has already stated there.
Hey, fantastic. Okay, Cindy, let's put ladies, one thing that I love. Okay, here's something I need to emphasize. This is a good practice. I just saw this thing from Google. Everyone knows Google, right? It's a great place to work. Search engine and all that. Google never has discussions without visuals, right? So if you go to a Google meeting, you'll notice that there's always some sort of demonstration happening in front of everybody. So there's something to look at. And that part I think is really important because that gives us like kind of a focal point, right? So as much as possible as a guideline for this meeting, since we are talking about brand and brand is highly visual, try to always speak with some sort of demonstration in front of you, okay? If you're talking about something, in that particular case, Asa, you could have just taken the screen and shared this link, right? That would have been perfectly fine. But the more that we can see the more that we actually feel and understand the brand, and it becomes part of our a richer experience. Okay, so that's just a general rule I'd like everyone to keep in mind. Okay, now this is interesting also. Now this is the opposite approach of Gojek, right? This is kind of like a maximum text approach. So let's we need to make some decisions then. We've analyzed this approach, and this is a very, very rich, like this is almost like reading a novel here, right? Let's keep on going. Let's see. Can we scroll down a little bit, Cindy? Okay. Interesting. All right. Asa, let me ask you, do you think this is a guideline, or is this a thought piece about guidelines?
Yeah, I think it's not guideline. It's more like they're sharing about their story on how they craft the voice of their content, also the strategic
Very
content.
good. Very good. Very good. Okay, this is important too, everyone. So in the context of there, we're doing two things here, right? Our results at the end of each chapter meeting are we produce tools in the form of guidelines, right? In this particular group. So that is our end result. But what we can learn from this is actually something very valuable, Asa. So I had this discussion yesterday with Gani and with Nadia. One of our first discussions is, do we need to actually invent all these things ourselves, or has somebody in the world probably already created framework and unit design that is sufficiently good for us to borrow? And the answer is probably, yeah, probably somebody has created this already. So this is another really important part, since you're all working in marketing and awareness, and this is super, super key. Try to, if you walk away from this discussion with one takeaway, walk away with this takeaway, okay? Good artists borrow, great artists steal. Okay? Good artists borrow, great artists steal. So what does that mean? That means if you see a great idea, just take it and make it your own. Because as soon as you do that, you will start actually accelerating your progress, and you won't have to work on stuff that doesn't actually. When we talk about original art, you'll actually find really, there's very, very, very few people who are truly original. Most people who will resample something, right? They'll take something that somebody else has created, they'll take it, they'll use it. Eventually, they'll have their own interpretation, and then they will kind of branch and become an original thing. And then somebody else will take it and then take their work and keep on going. So this should be your first process when you think about whether or not to invent something or to take something that already works. So don't reinvent the wheel, right? Not at Bukit Vista, but not in the world. If you feel like, hey, has somebody else written a really good guideline on tone yet? Right? Then just take whatever they've already done, use that format, and just fill it with the content that you want to put into it. No need to go back to cave drawings when we're already working on abstract modernist art already, right? Just take that idea and go with it. So that can be pretty valuable. But Asa, I think this is actually really good too in that line, right? Why have to go through the entire thought process and struggle of thinking about how to make a guideline when we've already read it here? Asa, here's what I want you to do, right? In the next discussion, would you like to lead the guideline discussion? Now, we've already started this one so far, right? So we've gone already what we've done. But what I'd like you to do, Asa, is this. Examine whether or not their thought process is more advanced than our process right now, okay? And then if it is, then start using that process to lead these guideline and branding discussions. Does that sound good, Asa?
Okay. I'll try that.
All right. Asa will be the next chair then, all right? And she will take the takeaways that she's understood from reading this discussion, and then she will steal those ways of actually going and elevate this branding discussion to at least now the Airbnb level, right? Which is actually pretty cool. Okay, great. Let's continue. Let's go to Hui Ying. Do you like the way this discussion is going? Is there some good takeaways for you to apply? Now, look, the point here is this, right? I'm not trying to inspect every single piece of work, right? What I'm trying to do is so that you can actually look at your own work now and go, maybe I could improve it for the next inspection, okay? We'll inspect each piece, but then at some point, I hope you will go, okay, I could apply Jesslyn's idea to my guideline, right? I could apply this to this, or I could put a video in my guideline to make it more engaging. Okay, let's go back, Cindy, to the main thread again. Now we've kind of gone through a little journey. Now we're going to go over to Nadia, who's not here, but it's okay. We'll go to Fatima, who's not here. All right. Yes, Cindy.
Sorry. Before continuing, I'd like to reconfirm first to Jesslyn, when will you like to finish the example? So I can write something here for the follow-up.
Next week, yeah, on Monday as well.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll put it in as Monday the 17th for the revision then. Okay. Thank you very much, Cindy. Cindy, for details matter. Amazing. Fist bump. Okay. And keeping us accountable to our goals. Okay, fantastic. Let's keep on going. As Cindy finishes that, let's see if there's any other issues or any other guidelines that are due. A little bit slowly, please. Let's go down. Let's go back to the December 3rd discussion. Let's make sure that whatever we covered has been covered already. Back down again, Cindy, please. Okay. December 3rd. Let's go to the December 3rd. Scroll down. Okay. A little bit further down. Oh, okay. All right. Sorry. Let's go back up again. So, right here. No, okay. Everything there is. We have Febby's discussion is covered. Okay, we can go up again. Let's scroll up a little again. Okay. All right. I guess this is where we stop now. December 27th. Nadia, Gunny, and me about the general framework for guidelines to prevent the endless cycle of creating more guidelines, as well as a general principle for branding. Oh my God, it's raining! It's raining! Okay, so I'm in Ubud, and it's like I hope the background noise won't be too hard to hear over, but I'll try to give our takeaways here. All right, listen, most people here probably want to have amazing careers, right? That's why you're joining Bukit Vista. So one of the things that I think is really important when we think about actual work is this, okay? How do we actually create work that has some strategic sort of value to it? So one of the things that we discovered was this. I'll bring everybody through the thought process and show what Gani, me, and Nadia came up with. So let me delegate this over to Huiying. Huiying, I need you to share your screen too. Cindy, keep sharing your screen. That's fine. All right, that way we can go back to this thread. I need you to go to the Gojek page right there, gojek.design. It's the link that I shared just earlier on the very top. I think it was one of the first comments in the discussion group. Okay. So as Huiying opens that, I'll bring everybody through the thought process. Once again, the thought process was this. We began by asking the question, is there a company similar to Bukit Vista that has actually created a set of guidelines already? And it was like, yep, it's probably Gojek, right? Gojek is kind of like a similar approach to startup, to the tone. They're playful. They have a similar brand, I say, a parallel brand to Bukit Vista. So we said, why not just take whatever they've written and go with that? So Huiying will bring us back up to the top, right? And we're going to analyze this from a strategic point of view. Okay, so the important thing to realize is this. When you're looking at this web page that has all the Gojek guidelines, the two things we need to do is we need to simplify this. We need to simplify it, and then we need to understand how to apply the more simplified idea to the Bukit Vista guidelines. So let me bring you guys through the thought process. Let's scroll down a little bit, Huiying, and we'll take a look at how we simplify this. To simplify, we need to be able to break it down into sections, okay? So at the very top, there's these sort of brand identity themes. What is your brand? What is it for? Why do you have it? These are the big picture ideas, right? And these are very important. These set the correct context. They set the correct tone for what's to follow. Okay, those are already defined. So we know that that's section one, something to do with themes. Now, let's look at this. This is really interesting. How should we analyze this? Let's go over to Audrey. Audrey, what do you see here?
I see a lot of icon, representative icon, which is very helpful for me as someone who analyzes things from visual.
Right. Okay, very good. What is this? What is the purpose of this section here? Let's go over to Huiying. Huiying, what do you think is the purpose of this section here? What was the thing going on in the mind of the designer?
so it is well organized. So people who want to know about the logo, they will click on the logo itself, and they want to know about colors, they will click on colors only.
Yes. Okay. All right. So in literature, what do we call that? If this is a book, what section of the book would this be called? Asa's like, what? All right, let's go to Asa. Asa, what section of the book would this be called?
Is it or like table of contents? but-
Exactly. Bingo. Winner, winner.
Yay.
Winner. All right, fantastic. So functionally, everybody, this is a table of contents, and it allows you to then now have an idea of the framework, okay? So think of it this way, right? Gojek probably went through a thought process. They went, how many elements do we need to think about when we talk about our brand? So here you go, right? This is what I mean by style. There's logo, color, typography. There's all these different elements, okay? And here's another thing to notice. How many elements are there approximately, Asa? Yeah, okay, all right. I see
10.
10. Not 10, okay? Why do you think it's not 200? Why 10? Why not 200? Why not 10,000?
That will be too much
Okay.
for everyone just to check in the table of contents.
Excellent.
So they categorize it into those 10 categories.
Excellent. Okay. So do you see what I mean by like steal the design, right? Somebody already made that decision for Gojek that at most they can have 10. Because after 10, it's probably hard to, start getting into like all these details, and it's just like I can't keep track of it. What am I supposed to do? So remember, this is the balance when we actually start creating guidelines, everybody. You create too many guidelines and nobody will follow it because there's too many things to remember. You create too few and you don't cover enough of the main subjects, okay? So 10, that's one analysis that we can see. 10 is probably the maximum number of guidelines that we should create. Now, let's also try to go over, remember everybody, the design problem, right? We don't want too much information because too much information, nobody walks away with anything. We want too little because too little, and it doesn't cover all the cases that we will encounter. So let's take a look and understand a little bit more now. Let's go to Jesslyn. Jesslyn, what other thing has Gojek done in the table of contents that shows that they understand how to balance between these two considerations in designing guidelines?
I think one of the things that they thought of is they don't just want to show their brand, but they want to demonstrate it as well. I think I noticed it somewhere in the typography section. Like they don't just show, oh, this is the font that we're using, but they also show like this is how the font would look like if it was bolded, right? So yeah, it gives you a rough idea of how to use the guidelines that you've had before. So
Right. Could that be called using an example, Jesselyn?
yeah,
Okay.
an
All right.
example.
Very good. Okay. Now I'm going to blow your mind a little bit more, everybody. Okay. So how many examples can you see right now, actually? Let's go to Asa. How many examples are you seeing right now?
Is it related to each categorization, sir?
Sure. Let's just say for each category, how many examples do you see?
I think for not more than 3.
Right. Okay. Listen, everybody. They've used that's not a word. They've used video to put multiple examples into one frame, into one space. Do you see that? Look at typography. There's 3 fonts, you see? And they're rotating over and over and over. So they found a way. Yes, they use a GIF to use 3 examples in a small amount of space, which is really smart. All right. So you can use 3 examples and use huge amount of scrolling, but they've used video to give you multiple examples in one space. Look at the logo. The logo keeps on morphing, right, across different examples. Take a look at some of the other things. Let's scroll down a little bit. Composition. Look at composition. Composition, they're showing you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 different examples of composition just by using one GIF. All right. So very, very smart use of balance, right? Not too much information where we walk away with nothing, not too little where we don't know how to apply this particular idea. that is another great idea you can steal. Okay, steal that idea too. That's something that actually can really work too. So that's a very compact way of doing a lot of information in a very small amount of space. Okay, that's it. That's essentially what we went through, and we came up with a few ideas, everybody. So one, the first big idea is we have framework now. We know that the framework for our guidelines should probably be 10 guideline points for the brand. Okay. And we're just going to take the same 10 that Gojek uses. And I'm sure Gojek probably borrowed it from some other company and some other company and some other company too. Because this, once you have a good idea, why change it, right? So 10 is the framework size. So there's 10 of these elements. But then let's take a look at the next part, everybody. So we have framework. Let's take a look at unit design. Let's take a look at the logo. The logo guideline is an example of a unit design. Let's try to dissect the unit design. Let's go over to Cindy. Cindy, how many lines of text do you see in this particular? I'm going to need Hui Ying to kind of just quickly scroll over the logo so that we get a feel for it, right? Okay. The logo is fairly long as well, right? Because the logo is the most powerful representation of the brand. It's seen by the most number of people. So then, okay, once again, another design consideration, right? Jesslyn, just earlier you mentioned engagement is really important, right? As part of our strategy for the voice. Am I correct? Engagement is key. We don't just say things, we engage. However, engagement you put down as the bottom guideline, right? At the very bottom, not highlighted, not emphasized, right? So if you really want engagement to be powerful, then you somehow need to elevate it to a position in the guideline where it conveys strength, where it conveys like, okay, pay attention to this. This is really important, right? So that's how I think Gojek is doing it with their logo. They're putting it up right there at the top. They're telling a lot of stories about it. They have a video about it, and they give you lots of examples about it, right? But what they don't use a lot of is text. They don't use a lot of words to describe it. They just show you, right, what the logo could look like. So that is a choice of unit design. Yes, Cindy.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. So they give an example of show don't tell. So just show, and then
Yep.
Give a little explanation about it.
Exactly. Now, take a look at this, everyone. This is the universe of different ways that you could reinterpret the Gojek logo. Now, imagine how long this would be if they wrote it down. Let's say they wrote down, okay, at Gojek, you're free to use these colors, but not these colors. At Gojek, you need to keep these borders, but not these borders. At Gojek, you need to do this, but not that. At Gojek, it's not okay to use texture, but it is okay to use this. It would just get like, it would be like reading the law, right? Not very fun, and probably not, most designers wouldn't be able to understand. But let's take a look at a lot of these designs. They kind of say everything about what you need to know. Does Gojek need to have a sharp border on their logo? No, right? They have very fluffy borders. You see the leaves, and some of these are used chocolate or poo. I'm not sure what that one is. Oh, that's another one, right? Can you use poo colored colors? I guess you can if you're working for Gojek. You can make the Gojek in brown form. It looks like toilet actually. But anyway, so okay, without having to say anything, but by showing, you have accelerated the understanding, you've accelerated the process that somebody can actually really take in this information. Okay, so that is the unit design for a logo. Lots of visuals, lots of examples, a little video in there, maybe some dimension specs, maybe also a few ways that the logo is applied to different mediums, bottles, swag, t-shirts, tote bags, things like that. Okay, let's continue scrolling down and see what else we have. Okay, colors. The unit design for the colors is also very short on the text, just simple explanation, and then immediately into examples, right? Showing color palettes, showing the other particular details of this. It's very simple. It's done, just like that, done, right? Not too much. Keep it short, right? Keep it sweet. Okay, so typography. Let's take a look at the typography. Okay, about a bit longer, maybe 5 sentences, and then an animation. Okay, all right, interesting. Animation. Animation is a fast way to convey a lot of information without having to take up a lot of space. So that part is very efficient. A good use of their space too as well. And cool, right? So we can see typography there. Okay, anyway, Once we understand the unit design, we understand the framework, that's something we can borrow, okay? So any of you guys working on the guidelines right now can be inspired by the unit design that you see here, all right? Okay, so keep the text small, keep the visuals strong, keep the, the elements of examples plentiful, use GIFs, if you can, to show multiple examples, use color, use show, don't tell, right? That can be a very strong way to actually establish your framework, okay? All right. Anyway, that's it. Okay, so Huiying, I think we can close up the Gojek example. That was just the fastest, easiest example we could find. All right, so as a group now, we've analyzed it. We've broken down, we've simplified what we've understood, right? And now the next part is up to, I think, everyone here, right? To think about how to apply these to different guidelines to the Bukit Vista brand now, okay? So we've done this right now. And now we need the next step, which is, what is the delegation plan? Okay, this is what I need from Cindy. Cindy, let's add this onto the discussion paper right here, just below Nadia, Bukit Vista, Ghani. There's 4 boxes. Do you see that? Unit design. Okay, all right. Let's put this in. All right. We need an idea of the framework. So let's go ahead and just write framework in this box. Okay, and let's ask Huiying, actually. Huiying, would you be kind enough, since you probably still have that Gojek design open, to tell us what Gojek chose as their framework for their brand?
What do you mean, sir?
Oh, like iconography, photography, all the different elements. And the table of
okay,
contents. What is in the table of contents?
Okay, sure. First it's logo.
Okay.
And then color.
Okay.
Typography.
Okay.
Composition.
Okay.
Tone of voice.
Okay.
Product logos. Photography. Iconography. Sonic, and illustration.
Okay. All right. Let's see how quickly Cindy can get some of those down. All right. Now, illustration, I think, was okay. Let's Huiying, please repeat the ones that Cindy has not written yet.
Okay. So from logo, color, typography, composition, tone of voice, product logos, photography, iconography, sonic, and illustration.
Sonic, like sound.
Yes, sound.
Wow, cool. Okay, that's brilliant. I hadn't thought about that yet. That's great. Do we have actually a guideline on that? Okay. Currently, let's break this down. Okay, maybe Huiying. Let's just delegate this one to you, right? Let's have Huiying fill in where we don't have the specific ones yet. Now, I think what we're supposed to do is this, everyone, right? Is one person supposed to go and capture each particular section, right? So logo has already been done, color's been done, typography has been done, composition, I'm not sure, illustration. Do we have any guidelines for illustration yet? I don't know, I'm asking. So Huiying, you're nodding, yeah? Do we have guidelines for illustration yet?
Yes, I think we have.
Okay.
Also the examples.
Okay, good. Are they good? Are they like Gojeks? Or no? Are they an efficient unit design? Do they have an efficient unit design?
I think from the examples, it is quite understandable.
Okay. All right. Let's not reinvent the wheel then in that particular case. Okay. So we have Sonic, and then branding. Okay, cool. What about Sonic? We don't have a sound brand yet, right? Like what music does Bukit Vista listen to, right? like we don't really have a definition of that. Okay, let's do this then. Let me find a delegate here. Let's go with okay, wait, let's do this. Jesslyn, since I made you our example today, why don't you delegate this to somebody? Who would you choose to be your delegate for Sonic branding?
For Sonic branding, I think Audrey would be the perfect person for that.
Okay. All right, Audrey. Do you accept the delegation?
But I guess I need someone to be paired with me in case.
Absolutely. Who would like to volunteer to be Audrey's mentor? Okay, somebody who's worked with videos here at Bukit Vista, who's worked with music at Bukit Vista before. I'm looking at one person in particular.
Help, send me help.
Okay. Asa, would you be kind enough to actually get together with Audrey here? And I think you've made some videos for the community before. So let's do this. Let's define what our Sonic brand actually sounds like. What does Bukit Vista sound like, right? How would you know that you were listening to something that told the Bukit Vista story correctly? And just come up with take a look at some of our past videos, maybe some of our I still remember the one that Gani and Rizal made, right? Dung 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 dung. Like. Have your property been? I think I was the voiceover on that one. Anyways, it's on YouTube. So, oh yeah, cool. Okay, so Audrey and Asa will come together and demonstrate the guideline for Sonic, and I guess that one will be fun because you're gonna need to probably use real examples for that one, right? That's something that is
Okay.
hard to visualize. You'll just have to listen to the recordings then. Okay, fantastic. That's pretty much it that I have for today. I just wanted to introduce this idea. Now, what we want to see is this now. When we take a look at our guidelines after our discussion we had today, hopefully this will elevate our ability to create better guidelines. And also, next week, let's have you understand what Airbnb went through and bring some of those ways of leading a branding discussion to the way that we do things here at Bukit Vista. Sound good? Okay, fantastic. Thank you everybody for coming in today, and I wish you well. If you're here for the awareness discussion, then please continue. If you're not, then I will see you later. Okay. All right. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jing. Bye, everyone.
Bye.